Tensions across the Middle East have surged to a new and dangerous level following dramatic claims emerging from the Gulf region, where multiple major energy facilities linked to U.S. interests have reportedly been struck in a coordinated wave of attacks. According to Iranian sources and multiple regional monitoring networks, Iran claims that it carried out a series of strikes targeting key energy infrastructure across Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain, framing the operation as a direct response to what it describes as an Israeli attack on its gas field inside Iranian territory. The reported strikes have immediately captured global attention, not only because of the scale and coordination involved, but because of the specific targets that were reportedly hit. These are not isolated or minor facilities. They are among the most strategically important energy sites in the Gulf, playing a critical role in global oil supply and regional economic stability. According to sources, the locations involved include the Kurais oil field in Saudi Arabia, the Mina al-Ahmadi refinery in Kuwait, and the Bapco refinery in Bahrain, each of them central to the energy infrastructure of their respective countries. Before we break down how these reported strikes unfolded, the destruction described at each of these sites, and what this could mean for the region and global energy markets, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest geopolitical developments shaping the world. According to sources monitoring the situation, the attacks began in a highly coordinated manner, with multiple locations reportedly struck within a narrow time frame. Early warning systems in the region are said to have detected incoming threats, triggering alerts across affected areas. Within minutes, reports began to emerge of explosions at major energy facilities, signaling the start of what is now being described as a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict. In Saudi Arabia, the Kurais oil field, one of the country's largest and most critical oil production sites, was reportedly among the first targets. According to sources, powerful explosions were heard across the facility, followed by massive flames rising into the sky. The initial impacts are said to have caused immediate disruption, with sections of the field reportedly affected by fire and structural damage. Witness accounts describe a series of intense blasts that shook the surrounding area, sending shockwaves through nearby structures. Flames reportedly spread rapidly across parts of the facility, fueled by the presence of crude oil and other flammable materials. Thick columns of smoke began rising into the air, visible from miles away, indicating the scale of the fires that had broken out. According to reports, the fires were not contained to a single point. Instead, multiple areas within the Kurais field were affected, suggesting that the strike was either distributed across several targets or that secondary fires had spread beyond the initial impact zones. In energy facilities of this size, even localized damage can quickly escalate, and sources suggest that this is exactly what happened. Emergency response teams were reportedly deployed to the site almost immediately, but the intensity of the fires and the risk of further explosions created extremely challenging conditions. In environments where flammable materials are present in large quantities, fires can become difficult to control, especially in the early stages following a strike. At nearly the same time, reports began to emerge from Kuwait, where the Mina al-Ahmadi refinery was also reportedly hit. This refinery is one of the most important in the region, processing large volumes of crude oil and forming a key part of Kuwait's energy infrastructure. According to sources, multiple explosions were heard within the refinery complex, followed by fires breaking out across different sections of the facility. The scale of the destruction described at Mina al-Ahmadi appears to be significant. Witnesses reported seeing large fireballs rising from within the refinery, accompanied by thick smoke that continued to expand for hours after the initial impacts. The interconnected nature of refinery systems means that damage in one area can quickly affect others, and reports suggest that the fires spread through pipelines and processing units. As flames moved through parts of the facility, emergency crews were reportedly deployed in an attempt to contain the situation. However, the complexity of the refinery and the presence of highly flammable materials made the response extremely difficult. According to sources, additional explosions may have occurred after the initial impacts, likely caused by the ignition of stored materials. Meanwhile, in Bahrain, the Bapco refinery was also reportedly targeted. According to sources, explosions were reported at the site, followed by visible signs of fire and damage. The refinery, which plays a central role in Bahrain's energy sector, is said to have experienced significant disruption as a result of the strike. Witnesses described scenes of intense fire and smoke rising from parts of the refinery complex, with emergency teams working under pressure to contain the situation. As with the other sites, the presence of flammable materials contributed to the intensity of the fires, making containment efforts more challenging. Across all three locations, the reported pattern is strikingly similar. Sudden impacts, followed by powerful explosions, spreading fires, and widespread disruption. According to sources, the coordinated nature of the strikes suggests that the targets were selected carefully with the intention of hitting key points within the region's energy network. Iranian sources have framed the operation as a direct response to what they describe as an Israeli attack on an Iranian gas field. According to these claims, the strikes were intended to send a clear message about the consequences of targeting Iran's energy infrastructure. The scale of the operation, including the number of locations reportedly hit, is being presented as evidence of both capability and intent. The reported destruction has raised immediate concerns about the broader implications for the region. Energy infrastructure in the Gulf is not only vital for the countries directly involved, but also for global markets. Disruptions at major facilities can affect supply chains, influence oil prices, and create uncertainty across international markets. According to analysts, the scale of the reported damage suggests that operations at the affected sites could be impacted for an extended period. Fires, structural damage, and safety concerns all contribute to delays in restoring normal operations. In some cases, repairs may take significant time, depending on the extent of the damage. The psychological impact of the strikes is also considerable. The ability to target multiple high-value locations across different countries within a short time frame creates a sense of vulnerability and raises questions about regional security. For residents and workers in the affected areas, the events represent a sudden and dramatic escalation. Emergency response efforts continue across all reported locations. According to sources, teams are working to contain fires, secure damaged areas, and assess the extent of the destruction. These efforts are complicated by the nature of the facilities involved, where safety risks remain high even after the initial impact. At the same time, the broader geopolitical implications are becoming increasingly clear. Strikes on energy infrastructure represent a significant escalation, particularly when they involve multiple countries and critical economic assets. Such actions can influence regional dynamics, trigger responses, and increase the risk of further escalation. As more information becomes available, the full extent of the damage will become clearer. For now, what is known suggests a coordinated operation that has caused significant disruption and raised serious concerns about what may happen next. Because in situations like this, escalation often leads to further escalation. Each action creates the possibility of a response. Each response adds to the intensity of the situation. And as the region assesses the impact of these reported strikes, the world is watching closely, waiting for clarity, waiting for responses, and waiting to see how this latest development will shape the future of the conflict. Because what happens next may determine whether this remains a limited escalation or becomes something much larger. And as the fires continued to burn across these critical facilities, the scale of the disruption became even more apparent. According to sources, some of the affected areas remained engulfed in flames for extended periods, with thick smoke continuing to rise long after the initial strikes had taken place. The intensity of these fires suggested that large quantities of fuel and stored materials had been ignited, creating sustained burn zones that were difficult to control. In several locations, reports indicate that the damage extended beyond the primary impact points. The force of the explosions and the spread of fire reportedly affected nearby infrastructure, including pipelines, storage tanks, and support structures. This kind of secondary damage can significantly increase the overall impact of a strike, turning localized destruction into a wider operational disruption. Emergency response teams, according to sources, were forced to operate under extremely challenging conditions. High temperatures, the risk of additional explosions, and limited access to certain areas slowed down containment efforts. In some cases, responders had to wait for fires to subside before moving closer, allowing the damage to continue spreading during those critical early moments. The visual impact of the strikes also continued to dominate the situation. Large plumes of smoke reportedly remained visible across the skyline, serving as a constant reminder of the scale of the destruction. In certain areas, the glow of ongoing fires could still be seen hours after the initial impacts, indicating that the situation was far from under control. As assessments began to take shape, attention turned to the operational consequences. Facilities of this scale are complex systems, and even limited damage can disrupt entire sections of production. According to observers, the reported destruction at these sites could have a ripple effect, affecting not only immediate operations, but also longer-term output and stability. At the same time, the broader regional atmosphere remains tense. Events of this magnitude do not occur in isolation, and their impact often extends beyond the immediate targets. As both sides evaluate the situation, the possibility of further developments remains a key concern. Because in conflicts like this, moments of destruction are rarely the end of the story. They are often the beginning of what comes next.